Looking back at my videos, I'm very surprised I haven't talked more about Mr. Freeze, because he is my absolute favorite villain of all time, of any franchise. Mr. Freeze is my number one. Victor Freeze is just such a compelling character, especially in the animated series. And ever since I watched his episode and his movie when I was a child, he was my favorite. And he still, to this day, is my absolute favorite Batman villain and villain ever. So, of course, when I went back and started buying some old toys I always wanted as a kid, I got animated Mr. Freeze. I've had him for quite a few years now, and I love having it. But then DC Collectibles a couple years ago released this Mr. Freeze in a giant box set, over $100, with other figures that I did not want. So I was debating, am I going to get this Mr. Freeze? Will I ever get it? And I put it off and I put it off until finally DC Collectibles just released it individually. And I'm very happy that they did. I literally went to my comic shop and I found it there and I didn't even know it had come out yet. So that was a very, very pleasant surprise. But anyways, this is an old versus new. The original Kenner Mr. Freeze from Batman the Animated Series versus the DC Collectibles one for the new Batman Animated Series line by them, the 6-inch figures. They're both pretty cool. They both have their ups and downs. Me personally, I don't really know which one I prefer because they both have some really great elements to them. First up, I want to talk about the vintage one. Can we call it vintage? I mean, it's pretty old. It's older than me by quite a while. It's pretty old, but it still holds up to this day. That's a hair from my cat. Fun fact. But yeah, I still feel like this figure holds up. It only has 4 points of articulation. You can only move the legs and you can only move the arm. You can't move the head at all because it's under the dome, which is unfortunate. I wish the whole dome could spin, but you know what? It's all good. One thing about this figure, though, reason you saw that cat hair is because it's a little sticky, especially this tank back here. Especially when I took it out of the package, it was very sticky. And you can see it has water in it because it shoots water. It could also just shoot air if there's just air in there. But I figured I would put some water in here for the sake of just having fun in this video. The only accessories he comes with are, of course, the backpack and the freeze ray and the ray itself, which is actually a really cool effect piece if you just want to have it displayed like that, which I usually don't. I usually just have it stored away. But you know what? I'm going to have it in this video because I want to show you the full thing. So, of course, you could just have air puff this out, and it's your little freeze ray. Or, I'm probably going to regret doing this, you could have the water spew it out. That's interesting. But yeah, it squirts the water. You can see it squirting it all over my wall. Wow. Okay. So there's that. You can see little hair right there from where it's just kind of sticky. But yeah, it squirts. I haven't put water in this thing in so long. But yeah, you could also just have the thing in there. Usually the air will puff it out. Oh, like that. And it just went behind the desk, so we'll see that later. But yeah, it's pretty much the original Mr. Freeze. The thing I love about it the most is that head sculpt. I just want to talk about this head sculpt because I like it a lot more than the new one. I think this sculpt was perfect. I don't think they needed to do anything different whatsoever. They just needed to recreate this head sculpt for the new one, but unfortunately they did not. It's a really nice figure, though. For how old it is, I think this is one of the best animated figures from the original line. And of course it's one of the best characters by far. Oh my god, Mr. Freeze is amazing. Anyways, this is a new DC Collectibles one. It's not perfect. It's not my be-all end-all Mr. Freeze. It's not superposable. It doesn't have a lot of good accessories, especially this version. It doesn't even have the Nora snow globe. I'll show you what it comes with. So he does have the backpack, which is pretty much just a tank as it was in the original series. It's very basic freeze ray, which is quite a different design from the original toy, but you can definitely see why they made it different for the toy. In the show, it was a little bland, wasn't it? And then his helmet here is actually removable this time around, so you can have him go, soap! That was kind of funny, wasn't it? But yeah, you can actually turn his head this time, which is nice. Speaking of that head, though, this isn't a bad sculpt. It's just not what I wanted. It's just not what I feel like is ideal. I mean, especially bringing in the original one here. You can really see the difference. I just think the original looked way better. Looked way more like the show. This one's not bad, though. It's not bad. It's just not what I envisioned. It's not what I envisioned for Victor Freeze. Where is Ferris Boyle? Anyways, so what does he come with besides that? A lot of hands. So you have a holding hand right here for his freeze ray, and a fist hand right here. But he also comes with way too many hands, honestly. He didn't... I have less hands on some... There's less hands for the Hot Toys First Order Stormtrooper, okay? This is kind of ridiculous. So you have open palm hand right here, which is interesting, I guess. Then you have... Very odd. Look how the pinky's separated. Trigger for the left hand, then like a different grip trigger for the right hand, and then there's an even different grip, like a broader grip trigger for the left hand. You can see the pinky is also disconnected. You have a grip like this. He doesn't even have any accessories to hold like that for the left and right. Why did they include these? They should have included the Nora, because they still include the flat palms. They could probably hold the Nora. And then, of course, you have the fist for the right. So all of these are going to go in my Mr. Freeze accessory baggie and will never be used ever again because I just want him with the fist. And this is all you need. And they cut the bases, too, with the new animated figures. They got rid of the bases. They used to have bases, not anymore. Look at that water. Let's talk about this water real quick. Because of how old that is, doesn't it look a little white to you? I don't know if it's probably just the lights reflecting off of it, but it looks a little white. Maybe it's real snow? Who knows? Yeah, let's talk about how he moves. So I already saw his head there. Actually, has a lot of range on the head. But it tilts more this way than that way. It tilts this way, but it doesn't tilt that way pretty much at all, which is very odd. And you can't have it fully tilted like that with the dome on. With the dome on, you pretty much just have a swivel. I mean, you can't really do much else more than that with the dome. You can see it's a little tilted that way. It's not bad. It's just, it's just the design for the dome, I guess. The arms, though, could have been better. They should have made the shoulder pieces either connected to the arm or on their own swivel, because without that, you really can't get the arms forward at all. Like, you just can't. You can't get the arm forward. That is physically impossible. To have him shooting the ray, he always has to be... I mean, it's a cool pose. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cool to have him like this. Just like Ferris Boyle, that's cool. But you can't have him pointing it forward at all, because he did a lot of cool stuff just pointing it forward with those red eyes glaring. But you can't really do that. Elbows are a joke, okay? So he has these rubber pieces right here. I don't even know why they included them, because the hinge is pretty much, it's just right behind that, and the hinge is nothing. This isn't the rubber hindering it. This is the hinge. That is the full extent of the hinge. That is one of the worst elbows I've ever seen. He might as well not even have elbows, honestly. They might as well just sculpted it like that. So his wrists are on hinges and swivels for all of his hands. And he also has the rubber for the wrist right there, too. They actually interchange pretty easily, almost too easily. It's kind of scary. I don't think there's anything at the waist. I've moved it. I've tried. I don't think there's anything because of the big old circle, which I've never really understood. It's kind of an odd, an odd design trait of this Mr. Freeze, but whatever. Legs can move forward just a little bit, not much. They move backwards more than they move forwards, I'm pretty sure. I don't understand why some toys do that. It's awful design, that's what it is. They don't think when they're designing it. Anyways, the legs can move out, which is neat, but no thigh swivel. So it's kind of like, what's the point? And then he just has a single knee bend. Should have been a ball-hinged knee, because there's no swivel there at the knee. The boot can swivel, and you just have a hinge. Oh, his dome came off. And you just have a hinge that moves barely down at all, and then up a lot, which isn't bad, because that means you can get him maybe doing a stepping pose. Here, let's see if I can... The most dynamic pose you can get this Mr. Freeze in. I mean, I don't expect like a freaking SH figure art with this thing, but they could have designed it better. It's just one of those things where it's just poor design on some of these articulation points, unfortunately. I mean, I love Mr. Freeze. That's why I'm being a little more critical, because I wanted a really good figure. But unfortunately, this is pretty much what we got. Oh my gosh, that felt like it was going to break before it would hinge. There we go. Would have been great if I had an on-screen break. There we go. This is pretty much the most dynamic pose you can get this Mr. Freeze in. I mean, it's not bad. it's not bad. It's just not great. I like having it. I'm very happy I was able to finally get it. Oh my gosh. That's why I should have water by me, but I don't right now. Maybe I could just lick it off the wall. But I love having it. I like having it. He's my boy. But it's still not, I still don't feel like we have a really good 6-inch Mr. Freeze yet. I just don't feel like it's happened. I don't feel like it exists. I hope someday it will. Unfortunately, we don't really have much of a hope because DC Collectibles gave up on DC Icons. And, oh wait, we do. There's going to be the freaking 1/12 Collective one. That'll be the be-all, end-all. I am going to get that. I don't have a 1/12 Collective yet, but I will get that 1/12 Collective Mr. Freeze. Hopefully it's obtainable, because I know some of those things are really ridiculously hard to get. But anyways, this is a new versus old that's a little divisive, because on one hand you have a very nice retro Mr. Freeze that looks a lot like how he does in the show, one of the only inaccuracies being the color of the gloves and the boots and that not being black. It's pretty much the only inaccuracies to the show. And then this one, which looks pretty much like the show, but has a weaker head sculpt and is really limited in articulation. You can pretty much just get him in vanilla poses. It's a cool figure, though. They're both really cool. It's pretty much pick your poison. Pick what you want, pick your pros and your cons, weigh them, and then decide which one am I going to get. This one's about 25 bucks. This one you could probably get on the card for maybe 10, 15 still. It's actually a pretty affordable animated series figure. So there we go. There's a new versus old on good old Victor Freeze. Or Victor Freeze, if you want to go Arnie. I love Arnie Mr. Freeze. I'm sorry. It's a different Mr. Freeze. But I love him for very different reasons. Okay, there we go. There's this video out of the way. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Check out my social media links down in the description below, as well as my P.O. Box address and my frequently asked questions. Have a good day, guys, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.